Yeah, it's hard navigating change and growth and keeping culture secure, and it is a constant day in, day out responsibility of leaders to manage that.
Welcome back to Life at 1010s, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Myself, I'm Garrett Fry. I've got Matt Bonelli with me, and we are so excited to have you with us today as we get this episode kicked off. Matt, I want to jump right into this episode because we're going to talk about culture today. We're going to talk about what does culture mean inside of companies, how it's majorly lacking right now, like majorly missing in a lot of companies. And we're watching it as real estate agents are bouncing from office to office to office, looking for a new space, a new home. And a lot of them, you can just tell they're just not feeling connected to this place that they used to once love so much. And then there's a whole nother issue going on out there, which is bringing in just some really negative energy into the office place. I think is making people kind of like bounce as things are a little bit strange out there. But yeah, we're going to talk about that today. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. I am excited to talk about this because this isn't just a real estate thing. This isn't any kind of business thing. And the businesses that you see that are strong, right? Most often they have an incredible culture. The people love working there. They have the brand logo on their t-shirts, their hats. You know, they're never hesitant to be like, I work over here and it's awesome. And what's interesting in real estate, and we see that, and I totally understand individual branding and all of that kind of stuff. But you don't see a ton of agents who are just like, I love my brokerage, right? But they do exist. And the ones that do it well, I mean, they have a lot of agents who are doing great business.
Yeah.
The company is thriving. It's profitable. The clients are happy. And so if you focus on culture first and you work on how do I create a good culture, and this works also for individual agents creating a culture among their clients as well, then everything else is going to also work out eventually. Now you got to do the work. You can't just be like, hey, we got a good culture. It's like, cool. Do you guys like sell houses? And I will also highlight this. Culture is not, bringing Susie a birthday cake, at the office meeting because it's her birthday this week, right?
No.
That's not culture. That's a thing. Now, if it is part of your thing that you do, like, cool, great. But like, those aren't the things that build culture. There's a whole different level of energy. And we have a really cool example of the result of instilling good culture year after year that we're going to share today as well. So
yeah, well, I'm going to jump right into my side of what I just experienced here because I've been experiencing this. So my daughter goes to Texas A&M, and I am super proud of just what that experience has been. I am blown away by what the school is and culture. Oh my gosh, Matt. The culture of that school is absolutely insane. Way different than the college that I went to. I love the University of Montana. It was absolutely amazing, amazing time of my life. Were we proud to be Grizzlies? Do I stand behind my school? Yes. Have I seen a totally different world with Texas A&M? It is on a level like I don't even begin to understand. We went there. So they did the ring ceremony this last weekend, and I jumped on a plane, flew down for the ring ceremony. So if anybody doesn't know, what happens is when you have enough units that you are considered a senior, you then qualify to go get your ring. And they have traditions around this ring where it's basically like when gold touches gold, which means the ring finger that you have your ring on, when you shake somebody's hand who also has that, you have this immediate connection with that person on the other end. And they use it as a way of camaraderie and bringing these peers together for years to come after graduation. And it's a huge event to go get this ring, and it's beautiful, and it was wonderful, and the event was put on at the highest level that I could have imagined by going there as a parent and walking around with my daughter and her friends and being like, oh my God, what is going on? This is amazing. Well, if you look at this school and you look at the traditions that happen around this, and this really comes back to tradition, because the minute I started sharing the ring ceremony, there were people commenting on social media all over the place that understood the power of what that day was for a student at Texas A&M. It wasn't this hidden thing. It was a culture that a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, what an exciting day. Whoops, gigums, all kinds of stuff showing up on my social media. But if you watch this school over time, there are chants and cheers that happen at every single football game, every sporting event, every midnight yell that they have, that seniors can say certain chants and cheers that juniors, sophomores, and freshmen are not allowed to say. And they all know it, and they're very clear about it. When all of a sudden you hear a senior yell out and chant up over here, everybody in the crowd goes, senior. Like that, they just know it. It's like they don't say it out loud, but these students, what years they are when a certain year is said, and all of a sudden you hear a whoop out of the crowd. It's like, oh, that's the graduating year of this. It's amazing the culture that comes out of the school. Now, it was really interesting, Matt, leaving that and driving home. So I have Celeste's twin sister, who's same stage of life, going down a very different path, and amazing path that she's down right now. And we're driving home from the event because she flew out there with me, and she's like, I don't get it. I don't get it, because I don't get it. I don't get all this stuff. This seems weird. I don't know. I don't understand it. And we had this wonderful conversation about all these people have been through a journey together. That ring symbolizes, when you see somebody with that ring, they quickly realize you have been through what I have been through. We have a shared experience. We have a bond. We have an understanding of this. And Matt, I think it's really important what you just said a second ago. All these things are also backed up by a really hard education. It's like all these symbols of you made it to that place where you had to put in some serious work to be able to get to that spot. And I trust you and I understand you based on all these pieces that are around this. And it was this amazing thing that I walked away of going like, I know the real estate companies. I know the companies in general that have figured out how to bring that type of culture into the business that they've created and the services that they're providing. And they're unstoppable when they figure it out. Absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah. I love that story because, people will focus, okay, cool, we'll do a ring ceremony over here. And it's like, no, the ring ceremony is the culmination of all that culture. And you said they're doing the hard work together. There's a recognition, there's a bond that is there, and that has to be there for that ring ceremony to be impactful. The 3 years that Celeste went through had to be awesome. There had to be connection, not just with fellow students, but with administration, with professors, with coaches, with other leaders that are on campus, or alumni who come in and share, or have access through LinkedIn and things like that. That's what builds that up, right? And, when you look at universities, a lot of them have a mission, right? Core values. They have a vision that they're building, and they talk about it constantly, which is why also with universities, they have a crest with a saying on it. And because they want to constantly remind people of the values that exist there. And this is who you are when you call yourself an Aggie, right? This is the type of person that you are. And we always strive to be X, Y, and Z, right? And it's amazing to see people feel it and be in it. And I loved hearing your story about the ring ceremony. I thought it was really funny. Jocelyn's point of view on it too, but it's because she's not in it, right? But she has her own cultures and things. Like everybody has their own thing, and it's okay, right?
So you look at so my son also, we got all the way back, and I was explaining it, and my son's words were exactly, he goes, kind of sounds like a cult. And I was like, well, it's
Yes.
kind of the root of the, like, that's part of the root of the word culture. Like, yes, I get it. Like,
Yes.
there's
It's just
a
not a
negative
cult where they all drink the punch at the end of the day, and
there's a negative connotation there, but I think a really strong culture can actually be scary to some people on the outside.
Yeah.
And I know real estate companies that have such a strong culture, and you've watched that culture build over time, and it builds and it gets stronger and stronger. And yeah, it does create some tension on the outside where people are like, oh, okay, I get it. You think you're all that. You guys think you're all the cool kids. Now, it's interesting, Matt, is that culture can also break. And we've watched this happen with real estate. I've seen some really good real estate companies that over time, give them back 15 years ago, had this unbreakable culture. Just people would go to battle for them. And then all of a sudden, leadership changes, things change. All of a sudden, they lose sight of what their mission was and what their bigger purpose was. And with over time, all of a sudden people go, it's not what it used to be. This doesn't stand for what it used to stand for anymore. And all of a sudden you watch it start to disband. And I've seen some really good companies lose sight of that. And part of it is leadership. Part of it is just a weak mission and vision that is instilled into that company all the time. Or they start not acting in alignment with what that mission is. And then it causes confusion.
Yeah, it's hard navigating change and growth and keeping culture secure. And it is a constant day in, day out responsibility of leaders to manage that, to continue to, like, if the vision is changing, like, you got to get in there and you got to talk to your people every day about why the vision is changing and why this is going to be incredible and why everybody's going to pull along. You shared with me a story about someone who heard their office manager kind of come in with this doom and gloom thing one time. And it's like, and we were talking about, well, you don't know what's coming up. But at the same time, it's like, even if you did, let's say it was kind of looking doomy and gloomy, you don't come in and say, well, guys, I guess this kind of sucks. We better just hang it up and like, I don't know what we're going to do. You come in and you go, guys, it's going to get hard out there, but here's the deal. We're going to work together. We're going to go out there. We're going to help people navigate this tricky situation, and we're going to thrive. And our clients are going to thrive, right? And it's hard work, to be an active leader like that. And I think that's why some companies, when they have a leadership change, culture starts to falter because maybe the new leader that came in isn't as strong in that, or the prior leader was so committed to just them being the culture that it left with them, right?
Yep.
And
well,
you got to work at it every single day.
Well, you have to work at it. And I think when you watch this happen in a company, you're going to see a side of the company that will say, this isn't what it used to be. It's not what I remember. It's not what I remember when I first got started here. And that can happen a lot of times with growth. Because it can't stay the same. And we all understand that. You can't go from a 5-agent office where we're all walking in and high-fiving in the morning and telling stories to a 50-agent office and expect that same culture is going to be there. Can it still be amazing and powerful and have an incredible culture? Yes, it's just different.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the challenge for a lot of brokers as you grow is figuring out what that vision looks like. How do we help people navigate through that? But the other part is also, you need to trust your leaders. You need to know that your leaders have your back. Like go back to Texas A&M, like there is a sense, and whether it comes from the administration down, which I think it does. There's a piece of it there. More of that energy and culture I find comes from, they've figured out how to have it come from the students up, which is wild. There is this camaraderie internally of what they stand for, what they are. And believe me, I mean, they have the history to back it up. They're telling stories of when the whole school started all the time. They're going back to every event that ever happened in the past and bringing it into the present and rising everybody up. And they keep that story going. They keep this bigger mission going as they've gone from a decent sized college to I don't know, what are they, 78,000 students is where they're at right now. Like, how do you maintain a culture when you got 78,000 70 plus thousand students running around, the United States. Like, it's amazing that they keep that going.
It is. You brought up something about leaders caring, and we're going to get into a really kind of fun little story here about a real estate brokerage. But just thinking about that, we read The Power of Moments how many months ago, Garrett? That was our book of the month. That we did our insights inside our community, which that recording's up there. If you guys do want to go see that, that's in our starter level, which is amazing. You can just go to lifeat10tenths.com, hop on there and get some extra podcast type content, which is amazing. But in that book, they talked about onboarding and welcoming people in. And you think about colleges, right? Most colleges, at least the ones that people really want to go to, are hard to get into. More people apply than are actually accepted into the university, usually at high numbers. I mean, colleges is like, yeah, we have a 10%, 15% acceptance rate. It's awesome. Now, granted, you also have students who apply to like 50 different schools. And so point being is like from the very beginning, it's like, ooh, I'm going to apply to this exclusive club, right?
Yep.
And in that pathway, there's learning about the university. Here's what we're about. And so they're educating, new members of this cult, this club, before they even apply. Then they get them excited to apply. And then there's the anticipation. Ooh, did I get in? Oh, am I applying early decision? Am I committing early on because this is where I really want to go? And then, I got waitlisted or I got in and all this stuff. There's all this energy around it. And so when students arrive that first semester, right, like the energy is with them. And so I think that's part of like training it in and how you can have the entire membership of the group be the purveyors of the culture is by, okay, let's get it early on. And a lot of brokerages do this with their recruiting process, right? I don't know if Ada's interview is coming out before or after this, but she talked about that in terms of how she made her decision, right?
Yep.
There wasn't a hard recruiting message. It was just conversation and care over time that just attracted her over to this other company because it felt right. And that's the whole thing about culture. It's that there's a feeling. It's not just, it's not just the core values on the wall. It's the feeling that people are able to experience collectively. And that's what will then sustain it for the long term.
So you look at this from a family's standpoint, like, okay, and this is not supposed to be a promotion for Texas A&M, so just roll with us. But so they do a midnight yell before every single game. I've never been on a college campus that does this. Maybe there's other campuses that do something similar to this. I've never seen it before. But at midnight, there is the day before a football game, there is a posse that starts on campus, and they start moving through the entire campus. And they have music, they are screaming, they're chanting, and this energy builds up all around. Now, while they're all doing that, us as the people that are there to celebrate Midnight Yell are filling the stadium. This is at midnight the day before the game. We all show up at midnight. We're all filling the stands. And hopefully sure enough,
the team has like earplugs so that they can sleep.
They come running in the end of the stadium, fill up the lower stands, fill up the infield right there, and then they start firing off artillery shells, and all this stuff is going on. So you got to think of this event. You're just going like, what is going on? It's midnight right now, and we're all out here celebrating, getting ready for the cheers, the next day. So we're all pumped up and ready to go with all these different cheers we're going to do, what's going to happen. You've got younger generations in this stadium. You've got kids. You've got all kinds of stuff that are here going, what is this? What is this all about? Oh, this is tradition. This is what, by the way, the stadium holds 100,000 people. That's my entire town of Redding, California, can fit in this damn stadium. And you have these younger generations that are watching this and taking this all in, and they're leaving this. Like, we're going, it's a celebration. They're going, this is where I'm going to school. This is where I want to be. This is what my future is going to be. I'm going to figure out how to get here. And I think that that's the power when you look at the culture of an office. They can go run around and do recruiting for colleges and go into all types of different high schools and go, let me tell you about Texas A&M and why you want to come to Texas A&M. or they can create a culture and environment that makes people go, how do I get here? How do I become part of this? And I think the best recruiting offices I've ever seen out there do not go and hammer on the agents and try to figure out, how do I get you to move over here right now? They are masters at providing a culture and an environment that make people go, how do I come here? Do you have an open office? Do you have an open seat? Like when you do get an open space, let me know, because I want to be a part of your world. That is the best I can see out there. And it is created. We watch it. It's not all over the place. You don't see a ton of it, but I've seen offices do it. And I think offices should strive for it.
They definitely should. And it's not always loud and boisterous. I mean, we had Dennis Tuttle on, and he does a great job at creating great culture inside his organization. It's not loud, it's quiet, but he does things in a way to help other people succeed. He runs classes at his own office that anybody can come and join. Yep. And he also cares about his agents, which that goes out, right? If you care about your agent, it's going to go out. And I want to share this, and I'm going to read this.
This is so great.
This whole post, it's going to take a minute to read this.
It's so worth it, though. So all of you who are listening right now, Matt's going to recite this post. It's so worth it. Take a second, sit back, pull your car over to the side of the road if you're driving. just put it in park. Listen to the words that Matt's going to share with you.
And this came from a company in Pennsylvania. And I guess I'll mention them. I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but it's Remax Real Estate in Allentown, PA. Dave Coleman and Joel Diaz. Joel actually shared this with me. He's the operations manager there, chief operating officer. He runs all the back end stuff. Very awesome. And so he shared this post that was on their intranet after their annual award ceremony, and it came from a newer agent, and it's really awesome. So it says here, reading through everyone's reflection, one truth rings out loud and clear. This brokerage is something rare and extraordinary. The awards, the recognition, the celebrations, these aren't just achievements. They're the byproduct of something far deeper, a mission, a culture, a collective spirit led by servant-hearted leadership, carried by tireless support staff, and driven by agents who lead with passion, grit, humility, and unwavering professionalism. When my journey into real estate began just a year and a half ago, there was a fire in the belly, ambition, hope, and a hunger to serve. But there were also the reality of starting something new in the face of shifting markets, NAR headlines, rising rates, all the noise that might make someone hesitate. But instead of fear, there was something else, inspiration. Inspiration came from watching the way everyone moves with purpose, with compassion, with relentless drive. There was no gatekeeping here. From day one, wisdom was shared, hands were extended, and doors were opened. Support was not only offered, it was lived out. The kind of generosity doesn't just teach you how to succeed, it teaches you who you want to become. Coming from industries filled with experts and high-level operators, there's always been respect for excellence. But here, the bar is higher. This is excellence with heart, expertise paired with humility, hustle rooted in humanity. This is not just a brokerage, it's a force, a living, breathing community where people rise because those around them believe they can, where strength comes not just from knowledge, but from unity, and where the standard isn't just to do the work and make the sale, it's to do it with integrity, courage, and care. To be among this brokerage is to be reminded daily that greatness is not born in isolation, it's built together. In every shared strategy, every offer of help, every early morning and late night, there is something bigger happening, a future being shaped, a legacy being written. The recognition we've earned is only the beginning. The real reward is the culture we've cultivated and the people we've become in the process. And if this is what we've achieved so far, the road ahead is not just bright, it's blinding. Thank you for an amazing award ceremony, and thank you all for your support, service, humility, and heart. Whew.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
now,
so
you read that and you think, oh, this is something that the owner or the president or a member of the executive team wrote. This is written by a newer agent that they hired not that long ago. And someone who they saw something in, and this person joined, and this is their experience. I mean, if you want to, I always tell people your testimonials really highlight the culture that you've built. You know, what people say about you, what people are willing to put out there, is what you've built. And like, you can't, it's hard to argue with this. Like, this wasn't asked for. Nobody asked this person to say this. This was inspired by the community that's been built. And it wasn't just because it was a nice award ceremony. That was just the point where he was like, okay, I get it, right? Like going to the ring ceremony. It's like, this all makes sense. And I can now point to this, and this, that is an example of this incredible culture that we have here. And so kudos to Dave and Joel and the whole team up there in Remax Real Estate.
Well, from the ownership and leadership side, like that is, I mean, I think every company has a vision of where they want to go. I think nobody wants to be mediocre. Nobody wants to just be okay. Everybody's got a vision of let's be great. Let's do something amazing. When you see something like that, that is literally it coming to life. Like I guarantee you that email is probably framed on somebody's wall somewhere going, okay, let's just remember, like, let's keep doing what we're doing because it's working. Because if you keep affecting people like that, when I was telling you, Matt, about, and all of you out there, when I was telling you about like the best recruiting actually doesn't come from the actual upside coming down saying, hey, we want you over here. It's actually the bottom coming up and going, oh my gosh, this is what my experience is. This is what this is. This is what it means to me. Everybody should come over here and experience this. And I think that is the most powerful thing you can have happen. And as you said, kudos to them. I mean, that is a home run of bringing culture and love and respect into the organization. That stuff's contagious. Just us saying this on the podcast and people listening to it are going to be going, so what, it also makes you sometimes look at maybe where you are going, I don't have that, which is why it's so powerful.
It is. And I don't want people to look at it as, oh, man, I wish I had that here. And it's like, you can have that wherever you are. Like it starts with one person. Yes, it's helpful if the leadership cares and puts systems in place. And I will say with this company, they're very good at having great systems and following through. They just show up and do the things that they say they're going to do. It's not like they have these incredible rah-rah sessions and all of these things that get people amped up to this point. They show up and do the things they say they're going to do and are the people who they say they are. And so if you're looking for something like this, start doing that, right? Because we're all guilty of this, right? You're in an office environment or something, and people say things, and you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, and you just kind of like go along and get along. I don't want to ruffle any feathers or whatnot. Be who you are. Be if something's not aligned with what the company says it is, you don't have to go call somebody out, but you can stand up for it and just say, hey, wait, who are we as a culture here? Because over here on the walls, it says the core values are this, this, and this. How do we apply that to this situation versus gossiping and getting sucked into other things that go counter to that culture?
Well, I think real estate's an interesting thing because different than like a student at a school where you are literally there and you are, part of this bigger culture. In real estate, a lot of times it's a place you hang your license. It is a company. It's great. I align with them fairly good. I feel pretty good about it. Split's pretty good. So here, I'm going to hang my license over here because this split maybe is better than the one down the street. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of people make the decisions about real estate. Ada, prime example, was like the split's actually worse than where I was at. Like, that was hysterical. But I mean, that's when you're moving maybe for the right reasons. You're moving for the right. It's not just about the dollars, which I think is really important. I think if you're listening to that letter that Matt just recited, and I think if you want to go into this and say, I wish maybe I had that in my company, it's one thing to go see if you can find that company in your town. And that may not be an answer. Like, that may not be the space. The other side of it is you might say, well, maybe what if I started that company? What if I wanted to be at that level that created that environment? That's not for everybody also, by the way. Don't think that that's the answer. I think a lot of times what you can do is the leadership wants to be that. I truly think every company out there wants to be at that level, whether they
Who wouldn't
know.
want to hear that said about their company?
Yep.
I mean,
They
like,
want to be there. So instead of gossiping like you were talking about, Matt, instead of stirring the pot and talking crap and building, some of the negative, go to leadership and say, how can we all help raise this ship up? Like, how can we all help be the best and bring this to the top? If I was an owner of a company, I would love that energy coming my direction of having the support of the people underneath me saying, how can we all be the best? How can we bring the expertise and the camaraderie and everything and the culture up in this office? What would it look like? What would it take? Because sometimes it's simple. I very clearly remember there was an office years ago I worked with, and they had a couple of fun traditions in the office. And these little fun traditions made it this office that was sought after. Agents were fighting to get into it. And part of it was they were really all good professionals. They were great professionals in the industry. But they also had a thing that on the first snowflake that fell out of the sky, all the agents would text each other. They would all get a hold of each other and be like, okay, we're meeting at this bar and we're playing pool. And the actual managing broker of the office was like, beers on me, pool's on me, meet me down there. It was an office tradition that they had that literally one person would see a snowflake fall because it was the start of winter and everybody would go, let's celebrate, let's do this. They also had like a miniature golf tournament they did in the office. And they had a whole scoring board and prizes and all kinds of stuff. And it was like you had your tea times where you'd come in throughout the day and you would do your whole round around the office. Sometimes culture is just little traditions like that have nothing to do with being the best agents in town. It has nothing to do with setting the highest sale records. It has nothing to do with how many plaques you have on your wall. But it does have to do is bringing people together and having those relationships built and having those traditions built that will allow you to go talk to others in town and be like, oh my gosh, we just did the funniest thing in our office. And what it makes is other people go, we don't do anything like that. And that's why I think, like, going back to Texas A&M, like, there's a lot of stuff I can talk about all day long where I'm like, my school didn't do that. Like, I wish, like, I even told my daughter, I said, I wish I tried a little bit harder. I really wish. Yeah. Like, I wish go back to high school. I wish I even had the option of going to a school like Texas A&M, because I didn't.
Well, and I'll say this, sometimes there is something there. You're just not looking for it either. You have to open yourself up to see it because, and I'll also say this, if you don't know of a brokerage that exists that has strong culture, it may not exist in your town because people do talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're small enough or you're just not seeking it out. Right. There's so many different factors that go into this. And I think that I hope that these stories inspire people to be like, let me just start by being me. And like attracts like, because it's not like everybody who goes to Texas A&M all of a sudden becomes this stereotypical, Aggie alum, right?
It's not for everybody. And I think that's part of the culture too, is it can't
not
be for everybody,
but it isn't also so exclusive that you have to change your whole life to be an Aggie, right? It's following a set of cultural principles that have been established. And this is why Dennis talked about in our interview with him, Dennis Tuttle, that every sync meeting that they run as a team, which happens every day, it's in the office, it's in person, and they read their mission, right? Mm-hmm. There's little things that you can do to make sure that people are reminded of the purpose of why we're here. And if it's not for you, all right, cool. Like you don't have to be there, but it is broad enough that it can welcome a lot of people. And I tell this to leaders that I work with and saying, if you're not creating a vision and a mission that's big enough to fit other people's visions underneath it, then you're not going to be able to attract people on board. You have to think really big, and then you have to care so hard about that and care about the people who also want to be on board with it, that it is in there every single day. Because those things that you talked about, texting for the first snowflake and, doing the golf course inside the office, that doesn't happen because they're like, hey, I got a good idea. let's put up a golf course inside the office. It's because they have a culture of fun and camaraderie, right? And the managing broker supports it by saying, hey, I'm in. And everybody makes it a priority to take care of each other, which that echoes down to clients so hard. I mean, I will say there are companies that I am a consumer of their products or services where I'm like, man, I can feel like if I needed to go get a job, like that's a place that I'd probably want to go work. It actually happened to me when I was in college. So Under Armour was a relatively new brand when I was in high school. And like I bought their first product. They didn't even have their own distribution. I bought it from this company called Lax Bros. These dudes selling apparel out of their garage, and they happened to like be able to stock up on these very first Under Armour shirts. And like I just loved their product. I'm like, man, this is so good. And the more I learned about the company, I liked the culture, I liked what they were about. And when I was in college, I actually wrote Kevin Plonk, the CEO, a letter because I was like, I want to come work for you. I ended up obviously not going to work for Under Armour. Well, maybe it's not obvious, but if you looked at my LinkedIn, you'd be like, yeah, you didn't work there. No, I didn't. I ended up like following the crowd and going to Wall Street, which there's a whole nother story there. But like, I was like, I loved their product. I was a consumer of it. I enjoyed what they're branded about, which made me want to go work there. And there's companies that I see out there today, which like, if I had to start all over, like I would go apply at those places. Cause not only would you get a good job, but you would learn a life lesson of being around people that can then give you skills that are going to translate to so many other things. And that's the cool part about culture is it's not only going to help create productivity inside your organization, it helps create great lives for those people when they're ready to move beyond, because there's going to be some people who are like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm going to miss this culture, but like, I'm ready to take the next step. And the best companies go, we're excited for you. Like, how can we support you? And we would love to have you come back if there is a possibility of that. But they're able to take on and say, they can always look back and be like, man, that was the company where I learned everything I needed to know that has made my life what it is today. And, or that was the school that I attended where I made all the connections that I needed to make and what I needed to learn to make my life what it is today. That is the cool part that you can create with culture just by simple habits, sharing core values, building traditions, and all of that stuff.
Well, and and it's funny, I haven't even looked online, but like if anybody wants to ever see like what that is, I highly recommend, and this is going back to school, like I highly recommend if you're passing through College Station on the day before a game and they're having a home game and you want to go watch what culture looks like at a school, whether you support Texas A&M or whether you just want to go and just be like, I want to see what this looks like, show up at the stadium at midnight and go watch what's going on. And just take notes, kind of stand back and just watch it. You don't even need a ticket to get in. They welcome everybody in who wants to come and stand in the stands and cheer and yell and scream. It's wild, and it is loud, and it is, kind of, there's a lot of ruckus going on. It is really wild. So this culture idea, Matt, as we're talking about, the reason we wanted to go down the state and the reason we wanted to talk about it is because we are watching it lacking in a lot of companies out there right now. And we're watching this massive shift of agents that are jumping and moving from one to the next. I have the highest number of people that have come to me saying, thinking about changing my office, and that actually pulled the trigger and went and did it. And some of them even left saying like, that was the office that got me started. It was the office that I loved. I loved what they stood for up front, but they're not what they used to be. And I need to make a change. I need to go a different direction. And I think that you can't sit back as an owner and just be like, oh, this is just the times, this is just the market, this is just the cycles that we're in right now. You need to really take a deep, deep, deep look internally at what is our mission, what is our vision, do our people understand it, and then what are we doing to make sure that that vision and that mission and this what we stand for is pouring out of us at such an amazing, bright level, amazingly intense, vibrant energy that people around us are going, I see it and I want to be a part of it. And if you can do that, if you can create that, you don't need to recruit. You don't need to run around and tell everybody what you stand for. They should be able to see it from across town going, something's different over there. Something is special. They stand for something. They are powerful, and I can see it from a distance. And you need to be able to provide that for the people. The business is there. The success is there. The people will come work for you. I promise.
Well, as this person said in this post, was the road ahead is not just bright, it's blinding, right? Like that's how bright you want this to be. And so, Garrett, I would love to hear from all of our listeners, everybody who's tuned in. If you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening, go over to YouTube so you can comment. I want to hear, like, what are the cultural aspects that really attract you, the traditions that you've experienced, whether it's at your brokerage. That would be great to give some other people some insight. Let's use the chat as a way for people to collaborate on some ideas. What are the things that have brought you into a place, have made you feel welcomed, have made you feel excited to wave the flag of that organization? I want to hear it down in the comments on our YouTube video. I think it'll be really fun to read and share. So get in there. And if you're listening on any other audio platform, if you could leave us a review, man, we would love it. Whatever it is, like, give us the honest feedback. If it's 5 stars, which I hope it is, drop it there. Every little bit of acknowledgement helps us grow. It's the only way to grow a podcast is through word of mouth. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in and sharing that.
And Matt, I want to add in real quick. I made a comment on it a while back that we have a very large listenership with very few that are actually subscribed to our YouTube channel. And I made the comment on it, and a lot of you went and subscribed to the channel. Not all of you, though. And that is a very simple way to support us. It is a very simple way to say, I like what these guys are doing. Whether you choose to listen there or not, just hitting the subscribe button on our channel and hitting the bell on it will allow YouTube to push us out to more people and allow us to be able to grow with the podcast that Matt and I love doing. But that's a very simple way. Just go hit the subscribe there. You don't have to go listen to us there every single time, but super helpful. And we are both grateful for when we get a new subscription. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you guys want to come join an awesome community and you want to get some of this week over week interaction, some learning, some coaching, we have the 11 Circle, our group coaching program. Just go to lifeat10tense.com, grab a 7-day free trial, and you can see everything that's going on inside our organization and the cult that we are building. So come join us. There is no, fruit punch at the end of the day either here. So it's just a lot of fun and growth together.
The punch-free cult.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.